Hey everyone, I'm Vijay Narayanan. I'm a fellow in Fellows Fund. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm really thrilled to be here with Roman Chernin, the co-founder of Nebius AI, to talk about one of the most exciting and ambitious ideas in tech going right now, the AI Supercloud. So we'll explore what is meant by AI Supercloud, why it matters, and broadly where it's headed. About 15 years ago, the cloud transformed how we build and deliver software. And today, with AI reshaping everything from research to enterprise processes, this idea of a super cloud that somehow connects and scales AI resources globally feels like the next frontier in computing. So with that, Roman, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please introduce yourself, your company, and also share what this term AI supercloud means to you and why it's relevant today?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Roman. I'm co-founder of Nebius. I'm focusing on the mix of product and business development, like anything that needed for growth. We are quite weird, but startup, how it feels from inside. Even though we are a publicly traded company, we 1,000 people, we are only 1 year, a little bit more than 1 year company. We worked longer together as a team, but in this shape and in this particular area, we started just last year. And we built AI infrastructure. People call it neo clouds. We call it AI specialized cloud. Today we have a very bright name for its AI super cloud, but it's all like the new generation of the infrastructure companies that enable AI development, right? And I think that we are like, no debate, we are in a very special time from technology perspective, right? So everything is changing so fast. We probably never saw such pace of new technology to win the market and change so many things how we think. And even though we are yet on a very early stage of development, probably everybody believes that in the next decade it will change every single industry, every single technology that we know. And as the previous generation of the clouds created the new paradigm of creating the software, and we came in the era of SaaS companies, right? Now we have the new generation of the companies, AI native companies. And what we built is actually the cloud that will be relevant and will enable people to build AI-centric applications and solutions. And I think there is, you asked what does it mean super cloud for me. I think there is two implications of that. One is the scale that we never saw before. Like 3 years ago, we had one data center in Europe that we started with, which was 20 megawatt data center. And it felt like, we have a quite significant data center. If someone would say that in like 3 years, 2 years, we would speak like gigawatts. And not only speak, but build. Now we have the projects going for 5 gigawatt data centers. And then when some people come on the stage, like it was the day before yesterday, and they say, okay, we'll build gigawatt every week. It feels like overestimation, but at the same time, you always have this back thought that, maybe we just like not get used to the scale. So the first like super thing is the super scale. But there is the second super thing in the new generation of the cloud, I think, is we yet don't know how this new era of AI-centric products development will look like. We kind of figure out how the infrastructure should be developed, kind of, but we yet, as an industry, in the very early days, I think, of figuring out how the platforms should look like, how the developer platform should look like. And I think this is very fascinating and something that I would love to
Yes,
speak
just
today.
on that topic, Roman, so you said, so we are in this cusp of transitioning from the traditional clouds to this supercloud with now maybe a gigawatt coming online every week. So what lessons do you think from building those traditional data centers and infrastructure carry over to this AI supercloud, and which ones need to be rethought from the ground up?
Yeah, I think that one thing that didn't change is the basic concept that like the cloud is compute, storage, and networking. So the infrastructure for AI still looks like we need to have a scaled compute, we need to have scaled network, and we need to have storage. Just the level of requirements grew like thousands time, probably. What changed is, again, the scale that we mentioned already and the density of what we built. But again, the second, that probably we need to rethink how the platform layer looks like. And yeah, I think that now the hyperscalers are going through this process of figuring out how, like SageMaker, Bedrock, Vertex AI, all these platforms that created should really work, because it doesn't look that they are close to be ideal for the developers. And we see how much like happening in open source. Like we see a lot of new platforms, like platform tools created. And we see the clouds like Nebius are trying to build from the ground up, from the greenfield, and build like fresh new architecture of entire stack, not taking some legacy blocks that may be not needed.
So maybe moving on to that, right? I know we have, I think you used a term when we were chatting earlier, megawatts, data centers, and GPUs. But any infrastructure is ultimately in the service of workloads, right? Workloads that run on it. And at least in AI, I can think of maybe 3 broad swaths of workloads I can imagine. There are probably more as well. Obviously, the labs building a lot of foundation models from scratch, and then probably a lot of B2B and B2C companies doing maybe post-training of these models. And finally, maybe new models, especially small scale-ish models being built out in different domains, like life sciences or chemistry or material science, etc. So in that, do you see what type of a stack and tooling do you see them needing to be successful in this new emerging AI supercloud?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think that one other dimension is like the type of the models, and then like we have the models cooking on different stages, and we have inference, so building the final applications based on these models. So following your like framing, if you look in the foundational models, and especially the largest models, from the requirements to the infrastructure, I would say that it's quite requirements to the commodity services. So in reality, we as a provider, you may be heard, we just signed a large deal with Microsoft, and we'll provide them like probably as of today, it will be one of the largest deployment of GB300s, the newest chips in one place. And what they need from us actually is quite a raw infrastructure. So they need a lot of compute in one place, coupled together, maybe with storage connected, and then they bring actually their stack there. So like from the perspective of the clouds, it's not that much looks like a cloud. It's more like managed infrastructure. Then when it comes to the second type of the customers who are not doing huge pre-training from the scratch, or training smaller models or post-training, here we can create much more value as a platform. So for example, like everybody is using kind of now managed Slurm or managed SkyPilot, like the new generation of orchestration tooling, like great open source product. And we even can create the API-based services, like letting people fine-tune the models or do the reinforcement learning as a service. So for like one of the things that we mentioned recently, that at the beginning of this year, we saw this race of open source reasoning model, DeepSeek, then Kimi and Qwen. Mm-hmm. And it took time for people to figure out how to fine-tune them. Mm-hmm. And we didn't see too much of workloads when people take DeepSeek and post-train it. Mm-hmm. But in the last couple of months, we see a lot of people coming to post-train mm-hmm. DeepSeek, for example. Mm-hmm. Just because it took time for the research community to figure out how to extract value out there. And now we see a lot of powerful kind of work mm-hmm. happening. And what we try to do is to package it as a service. So like all the thinking we have internally is how can we lower the barrier for the developer to actually extract the value from like the model and the data to get the better results. And then the third category is actually inference. And inference, I think, is the most important kind of building block, because in inference, there is a real need of cost optimization. You need inference on scale when you have usage. When you have usage, you have customer that's ready to pay you in some business model. You have subscription that you need to get economics out of, or you have like per consumption, and you have the real business model. When you pre-train the models, it's in general like you take money from VC, bring it to the cloud, and then clouds send it back to NVIDIA. So it's just the flow of the money, fixed cost. But when you start growing the real product within the business, or you build a new like product company, vertical AI company, you have the economics. And there are a lot of need to make it really efficient. Yeah. Extract more tokens, make efficient caching, diversify models.
So in that layer, where do you see open source frameworks and open standards fitting into that?
Yeah, thank you for asking, because I was supposed to say about that. I think that like for Nebius, open source, the existence of open source, of strong open source models, is actually existential question, maybe I would say. Mm-hmm. Because we clearly understand that for the frontier labs, for hyperscalers, like the level of the services we can provide is actually more very basic infrastructure. But if we'll see the market that is diversified and there are a lot of like different models for different use cases, a lot of open source, people will build on alternative infrastructures. And we are super excited to see quite a pattern how people develop vertical AI solutions. When they start first, mostly on the closed source models, the most powerful models, just because you first thing you think about is like to justify the use case. So you want to have the most powerful intelligence to unlock the use case, to see it works, that coding is working, or you can do copiloting, or you can do a support board, whatever you build. But then, if you succeed and you start growing, you need to make sense of economics. And in this case, and this is one. And the second, actually, important thing, that you start getting like more data, because you see how people are using your application, and you start collecting the data, you're collecting the feedback. And actually, at this stage, we see that the builders go to open source models because they want to optimize the cost, they want to solve easier tasks with the smaller models, they want to apply their data, and actually they want to create some kind of technological moat around. Because, again, most of the powerful moat today probably comes from the data that you can apply. And this is the stage when the open source plays. And this is the stage when our goal is to provide efficient inference platform for the builders, and again, lower the barrier to catch up the frontier models kind of performance and intelligence with open source models by applying the data, by building comprehensive systems, by building agentic systems that talk with each other, building pipelines from like models. Because again, like we see now that there is most of applications that we really use based on AI, it's not just naive one model kind of calls.
So it's interesting that you mentioned this ecosystem developing around open source, but you guys are also recently announced this partnership with Microsoft, right? So as this ecosystem evolves, how do you see either competition or collaboration between superclouds like you guys, AI, specialized cloud superclouds like you guys, and the hyperscalers on one end, and with the developers, researchers, and the enterprises on the other? Where do you see these superclouds play in that ecosystem?
We think about business as a two parts. We call the core business of building like real cloud, multi-tenant, serving startups, enterprises, all the way from the individual developers to the large labs, leveraging our platform, building infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, like full stack. But it happened that the largest customers of this market that you just cannot ignore, from the easy idea that you, in the infrastructure business, you large or debt. You cannot like not working with the customers like Microsoft or other hyperscalers and super labs. And of course, we take the chance that they need us today to help them kind of build their infrastructure as well. But we think about it as a fuel for the company. So these super deals for super clouds is the source of the fuel of financing of the scale to actually reinvest it back to the core business and serve like diversified customer base with the value-added services.
So that's a very important point, right? You guys are partnering with the hyperscalers on one end, but you're also making these very massive infrastructure investments to bring up these clouds and operate these clouds. So how do you think about this balance between all these massive infrastructure costs that you are putting in, especially upfront CapEx costs that you're putting in on one end, against this goal to really make it easy for individual developers or researchers to access your capabilities in a reasonably affordable manner, right? So
yeah, it's a great question. Like we say that our business is the combination of capital and technology, and capital is important part. we can build for AI developers, for enterprises, as much as capital we have. So we think about it very pragmatically. So everything we can invest upfront, like build, invest in infrastructure, like in CapEx upfront, and then get it available for like wide market, for the short-term reservations, for the pay-as-you-go contracts, like all the classical like cloud consumption. Because to be honest, when you build the cluster for someone and it's like 3 or 5 years contract, it's not really cloud that we get used to, right? So it's just like, it's managed infrastructure, yes, but it's not the cloud experience. But to grow faster, as I said, we definitely need these massive AAA customers that can actually get in these long-term arrangements. Yeah, we kind of take the scale and reinvest it back to the core business. After we signed the deal with Microsoft, we was able to raise another 4 billion. We're a public company, so we can leverage our public market tools. So we raised another 4 billion to invest in our core business.
So these types of large partnerships help you plow the cash flows back to your CapEx costs as well.
Yeah, you can think about it like as a weird way to fundraise.
That's a good way to think about this. So one reality of clouds today, and I think will probably be even more critical for AI levels of compute and power needed, is and obviously with all these sovereign clouds needing data locality in multiple places, etc. How do you think about the broader system of regulations or geopolitics or even sustainability issues affecting your these AI supercloud strategies?
I will ask, we have a limited time already and a couple of topics maybe to cover. I will answer very short. Regulation very much matters today, but what is important, what important trend we see that the understanding in different countries that they need their AI capabilities actually creates the more competitive market. And I think that's great for the company like ours. It opens the opportunities because our competition is quite tough with the hyperscalers. And again, the less consolidation, the more factors of competition, the better for us. So I think that this geopolitical aspect, first of all, important for us from the perspective that there are a lot of powerful kind of motion, like to have different places strong in AI. Like we just launched in Israel, we're launching while speaking in UK because they need it there. So it's great.
Great. Maybe shifting the perspective, maybe for some of the technology leaders here in this audience today, in the room today. From their perspective, how should they think about these superclouds vis-a-vis these hyperscalers, right? Or even on-prem, for instance. When should they start with hyperscalers and then explore you guys? Should they start with you? Or should they build something on-prem and then scale out, migrate to these things? Or should it be a hybrid?
Yeah, I think that there is no one correct answer that works for everyone. But
any matrix or any decision tree?
I think that what we can observe is if you want to move fast, you go to AI specialized clouds just because you want to move fast. You want to have like the newest, the cheap, like everything newest, cleanest. Like we work very closely with NVIDIA to deliver everything first. The second thing, we are still in the market of shortage of compute. So you actually go to the provider that can support you and grow with you. And this is the very important factor for us. I think that the on-prem deployments became quite complicated nowadays because, again, the life cycle of the chips is very fast. But what is even more challenging is every new chips bring the new requirements to the physical infrastructure. And if you are not specializing in the building this like AI data centers, it just become tough. You cannot put any more few servers in the room, right? It will not work. So I think at the end of the day, we'll see quite a hybrid kind of patterns. We see a lot of people sitting on hyperscalers with their classical workloads, but offloading AI-centric, heavy workloads to us. And I think this is quite a natural behavior today.
Yeah. Any blind spots or any decisions or like any patterns that you would like these decision makers to stay away from or not fall into?
You mean from something we didn't discuss, or in how people build?
No, for users, right? So for users thinking about whether they should start with the hyperscaler, whether they should start with you guys,
No, I think, I think that
they should be aware of, which maybe from your experience you find that, hey,
no, I think that there is
later.
quite a different experience with like startups and enterprises. I would say that startups mostly start with collecting all the credits from everyone they can, but then they need to find a reliable provider that will grow with and be fast enough for them, so moving their pace. And we see that a lot of them prefer to start with this AI specialized cloud ecosystem, neoclouds ecosystem. I think enterprises are moving in other direction because they all already in hyperscalers, so they naturally start living there and running workloads there. But then they can find some limitations, not enough performance, not enough usability, not enough capacity, and then they come to consider the world of AI specialized clouds. And I think since the industry is pretty young, it takes time to prove kind of, let's call it enterprise readiness for infrastructure providers like us. But we are moving fast there, and we complete all the compliance roadmap, and we receiving the experience of working with enterprise type of customers, and it becomes easier for I don't think that in a couple of years from now there will be that level of diversification like neoclouds or hyperscalers. It will be just large enough, reliable providers or not.
So it could be a federated AI supercloud where it shouldn't matter whether you're running on a hyperscaler or on a
it probably will matter. Yeah, it probably will matter, but we'll see kind of the hybrid kind of approach as a natural way to build things.
Got it. Well, I think we are out of time now, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank Roman for sharing.
Thank you for hosting.
With us, and thanks, Roman. Appreciate you.